I'm trying to prioritize not overworking myself and fucking sleeping, but my schedule, as soon as I get home, because of all the fatigue I have, all I want to do is doom scroll, and then that wastes my precious time, which I barely fucking have. But then it's this repeating cycle where I'm so tired, I'm so mentally drained, and I take up all my energy going to a fucking institution, which kills all my happiness, and then going to the gym after to get my body yaddy yaddy, which is one of the few things that make me happy, and is one of the few places where I can actually see people who actually fucking resonate with me, who I actually get on with. But then that leads to a lack of time, lack of energy as soon as I get home. So as soon as I get home, all I want to do is eat, shower, doom scroll, out around like 9, get my shit together. So I probably like wasted 2 hours of my fucking day, which is 2 hours I don't have to waste. But then at the same time, I do need time to relax because I'm such a fucking workaholic. Oh, now, feelings. How am I feeling? I'm feeling disappointed. My whole life I'm disappointed, underwhelmed, betrayed, and fucking let down. And John, I feel like there's a bit of anger in there too. Do you know, there comes a point where someone like me deserves so many sorries. The word I'm sorry doesn't even mean anything. So, I'm gonna bring you through this process. I'm sorry. I've wrote I'm sorry and pay. Well, there's probably people I do owe an apology to, but not at the moment, right? So, when I write this, get my ink to paper, when I write I'm sorry, what do I feel like writing down with I'm sorry? I'm sorry I'm better than you. I'm a narcissistic prick at the end of the day. Because a lot of people, they get very fucking hissy-fitty over my confidence and all shit like that. But the type of thing is, when for the biggest time, my number one goal in life was fucking killing myself, I think the least I deserve to do is be a bit of an egotistical prick sometimes, to be honest with you. And 90% of my moments I do actually believe wholeheartedly the stuff I say, but there's the moments where I don't, you know? And I feel like a lot of what I talk about in these videos is my attachment to people and how warped it is. What I mostly talk about is my avoidant tendencies. Now, I'm gonna go into the realm I do not like talking about. If you have seen like one of my most recent posts on my community tab, it says avoidant to my core, clingy on occasion. And this is the part I don't like admitting. I am anxious avoidant. I am clingy and needy. Sometimes. And that pisses me off. I really don't like that, right? So, my anxious attachment is it stemmed from my abandonment issues. And if you watch me for long enough, / if you know me in person, my abandonment issues stem from my father, right? So my father abandoned me when I was around 6, right? And for a lot of my childhood, that is such a core wound I had, and that is something I brought around with me for the longest time. For the longest time, I accepted such shitty treatment because I was like, I had this wound, I'm unlovable, I'm all this, I'm all that. And a big reason why my mum was able to manipulate me and abuse me the way she did is because of how low my self-esteem got as a result of my father abandoning me. You know? So a lot of people from my dad's side especially, they don't really, I don't like telling them how much it affected me, him leaving did. But it really broke my younger self because in my nature, I'm very fucking loving. Super fucking loving. Too fucking loving. Like, when I care about someone, I care about them with all my soul. You know? And I really did love my dad. You know? Like, in hindsight, when I think back on some of the stuff it was very obvious he was / is mentally ill. But I loved him. You know? And I don't like what I'm also about to say. I really, really, really love my mother. You know? And I don't like saying that either. You know? And I really did love my sister bitch, who later started treating me really badly. And to this day, I do really love my autistic sister. Deeper parts of me still does feel bad that I was the one who got out, you know? And I know I deserve to have gotten out of that situation because of all the work I put towards it and all the effort. And no one deserves to be in the type of living situation that I was in growing up. But she's such a pure soul, man. If anyone deserves to be out of there, out of the three of us, you know, out of the three daughters, she is the best heart out of all of us, you know. Like, I'd say it's probably my autistic sister. She has a fucking heart of gold, like, you know, Jesus Christ. Just too good. Way too fucking good. Too good for this fucking world, man. You know? And the saddest part is that's a big reason why she's been with my mum for the longest, you know? And then probably me in the middle, kind of like, oh yeah, I'm a decent person if I love you enough, / if I give you basic respect. And then there's my sister bitch. So I think she was a good person growing up, but you know the way some people let their trauma consume them and they try to put their trauma onto other people, you know, and people are fucking evil, man. People are fucking evil, you know, because even with how sweet my oldest sister is, and even with how pure she is, and even all that, obviously how my mum treated her was abusive and all that, and I'm not going to go into her own trauma because that's her own business, and I'm not going to publicize that stuff, but people in her school treated her horribly, you know. Well, obviously people in my school treated me horribly too, but you know, they treated her even fucking worse. I didn't even know that was possible, you know. And do you know what killed my soul once? She was telling me and my mother how nice this girl was because every time this girl saw her from college, she said hi to her and smiled at her. Why has basic human fucking decency become so rare? It's something that needs to be fucking applauded. I think a big part of me is honestly just gonna have to go into a fucking cabin and be away from society. You know? I want to make so much fucking money that I can just have my little mansion away from society and just lock every single person I love in there. You know, that might be, I know, but I do love the people I love enough that if they didn't want that, I'd let them go, even though it'd kill me. You know? I wouldn't actually like to lock anyone I love in a cage or any fucking sick shit like that, but I'd want to make sure they're always with me in proximity. You know, the type of thing where it's like, I'm a big person on having my own space and stuff like that, but I'd make sure they'd be at least one room away, so I'd be in my own room, but I'd know if I needed them or wanted to see them, or just if I wanted to like feel better, I could just go over to like their room and be like, hi. Sometimes I wish I didn't love with all my heart. You know, it caused me a lot of fucking problems, you know. But then it's also the reason why I have such deep connections with the people I do. You know, a lot of people have some very fucking shallow friendships, and honestly, whatever gets people going and whatever fucking works for you, like, you know, but it should be terrifying the things I do for the people I love, because you don't even want to fucking begin to imagine it. You know, I know my parents don't give a shit about me. You know, I know most of my family don't give a fuck about me. You know, I know I'm just being used for the most part. You know, my whole life is just basically a fucking story of get used and abused. You know, and I've accepted that. So I don't even really get disappointed when people try to use me anymore. you know. I'm really good at spotting it, you know. It's very obvious when someone's intentions with you are genuine and someone is like, you know, and when someone doesn't have genuine intentions. It scares me how long I can love someone for, you know. And sometimes the person would never know I felt so deeply about them, but the close people in my life do, you know. And there's some people where I have such mixed feelings about, but I still do think about them. I hate that some people can get in relationships when there's someone else at the back of their mind. You know, I hate people who can do that. You know, because one of the first few people I ever actually really liked, and I don't want to say I loved him, because I don't want to say that. I feel like that's a bit too fucking, that's going too extreme, because he'd always kind of tried to put up a boundary or something. There's stuff getting in the way. So that I never got to the point, but I really fucking liked him. And when I mean I really fucking liked him, I mean I really did. You know, I would every time I saw his his name come up on my phone, I was so fucking happy. Every time I saw him, it was like, it's like cloud9. You know, I'd like, a big part of the good parts of my day was being able to see him, you know. And then nothing could happen between us for a reason in particular, and then he got a girlfriend, and that really did hurt. But do you know what hurt worse? When he continued flirting with me even when he had a girlfriend. And do you know what hurt even worse then? When he made suggestive jokes to basically invite me back to his place when he had a girlfriend. He's one of the few people I've ever actually felt connected to, and he's one of the few people that has ever reminded me of myself, you know. And it hurt a lot that he loved someone else or whatever, but what hurt more is I knew I couldn't have him in that moment for the particular reason he had a girlfriend, and that goes against my morals, and I'm not about that. I don't agree with that shit at all. But what hurt more is that showed me I could never date him, because people who act like that in relationships, my trust is, I wouldn't allow it, you know. Like, he's a big flirt and or whatever, but the thing is, like, I know he does flirt with everyone. That's just the type of person he is. But it's the fact he knew he shouldn't be doing that shit, because when I had fully stopped trying to speak to him, whatever, that's when he pulled his antics even more. What hurt the most is I missed him, but my morals always matter more. You know, I do love people. My morals do take place over my loyalty a good bit of the time, you know. And I don't really like speaking of the topic of love in my life, for the pure fact it's very complicated, and then I'm not the best in a lot of situations, and they're not the best, and my attachment issues lead to a lot of fucking problems. And it's also part of my life where it's like, honestly, it's better left unsaid, and I don't like when a lot of people know about that part of my life, for the pure fact I think there's something very beautiful about having a connection with someone that isn't well known. Like, I would never be the type of person who would post someone on social media. Like, I would like social media, you know, like, I probably wouldn't even have them as a wallpaper, but I'm the type of person I'd have them as like every photo on my camera roll. I think when too many people know about something, it loses its mystery, you know. And I think mystery is one of the most beautiful things about this world, because I feel like when we fully know something, you know, when we fully start to discover something, we get bored of it. You know, there's something very intriguing about mystery. You know, and also there's a big level of irony, because I used to be such a private person before I just started airing out all my shit on the internet. Well, not airing it out, all of it. My surface layer trauma. You know, but I'm so traumatized that people don't even realize this is only the first layer of the onion. So there's a certain level of irony to that. My father was the man who led to my anxious attachment style. And I'm slowly but surely starting to heal from my avoidant attachment style. I'm slowly but surely getting better at sending people the message. Okay, so basically what I'm going to start off by saying is my avoidant attachment style, right? So still very prevalent, but I've gotten better at sending people the message, listen, I'm having a bad day, I need to be by myself, sorry. You know, but now this is where the problem's getting in. On the romantic scale, I act anxiously, because with my friendships, it's my mum's trauma that gets triggered. So that's my avoidant attachment style. But as I've slowly started to heal that attachment style, I used to be like with romance growing up. So when I was going into my very teens, I was very fucking avoidant. And I mean very avoidant love-wise, right? But as I slowly started to heal my attachment style, right, it went from trauma central to just very traumatized. So then it went to me acting anxiously romantically. So in my friendships, I went from acting avoidantly when I first known someone to then acting very fucking secure, very trusting. When someone passes the whole green light test, then I act secure in friendships, right? But the problem is, when I started healing my avoidant attachment style, that helped my friendships. But then it led to me acting anxiously romantically. And that is a huge problem, because that makes me very uncomfortable, because to my core, I am an avoidant. You know, I'm very avoidant leaning, even though I am a fearful avoidant. Like, me, I should not be feeling the need to go call someone 90 plus times, because I value my free space, I value my personal space, I value alone time, I value independence to the highest degree. Why would someone like me who has that mind frame feel insecure enough to want to ring someone's phone 99 times because they ignored me for they didn't respond for an hour because they were busy doing something? Like, logically speaking, and when I say that out loud, that feels fucking insane, but it nearly feels like I have two sides to my brain, just because I'm going from the fucking scale. I'm going from leave me the fuck alone to be I love you so much, and it's this isn't okay. I don't fucking like this. Because I suppose it's also a thing where it's I would have male friendships, but they're like my bros. My father is my representation of how men are like. That's how it should be. And my father should be a good, respectful man. So I should have a good fucking basis. But instead, I've been taught the lesson, oh, all men are gonna leave you. So then I'm there, right? And I used to be kind of oh, I don't give a fuck. I'm better off without you. I'm that bitch. Leave me alone. Well, that isn't how I used to think. I used to be oh, love is scary. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Please. Oh my God. Please leave me alone. Right? And now I'm So then I'm fucking ice queen, right? I'm like, leave me alone. You're not good enough for me. Fuck off. You know. And then, do you know what? When I actually do start getting a bit attached, I'm like, free. Like, I'm internally freaking out. Oh my God. Why haven't they rang me tonight? Oh my God. Why are they responding less? Oh my God. But this is all internal, right? And then I might vocalize it a tiny bit in a very logical way, but in alarm bells are going off my head, right? And then if I notice too many patterns of them losing interest, I swing straight back to avoidant fucking 101. Oh my God, this is the most avoidant person you'll ever meet in your life. And then I'm like, sure, if they don't want to call me, why don't I just block them? Why don't I just disappear? Why, you know what? I'd be doing them a favor if I just disappeared out their life, because that's clearly what they want. You know? And this is the signal that I need so much more therapy and I need to start opening up more to people. And yeah. And the reality is, right, this is what I'm going to write down. I am terrified of love because I open my heart up completely. You know? And that's, to be honest, that's brutally it. You know, I've been burnt a lot, and I've had a lot of experiences, you know, and then there's also a new layer that comes with it, where it's like, I know I am physically attractive now, and I know how most men think. Most, and I'm not generalizing, but especially teenage boys, especially, they're very superficial. They have very superficial wants. And do you know what I'm going to put that under? It's going to be under this very PG term. Short-term pleasure. That is a lot of people, especially in this modern society. In this modern society, women are also kind of a big part of that thing, right? Which honestly, I don't give a fuck what people get up to in their free time. You know, why it isn't my business if someone decides, whatever gender, every single weekend to go drinking and shag random people. I don't really give a fuck what people are doing with their lives, as long as both of them are consenting and whatever. As long as the two people are okay, both of them consent, I don't give a fuck what they do in their free time, right? But me, on a personal basis, I have so many trust issues, I could never do casual. And the irony is, I'm avoidant, so I should want casual. But then romantically speaking, I am anxiously attached, right? When I am not attached to someone romantically, I start off as very avoidant. Then I go very anxious. And then if I feel hurt enough, I'll swing back to avoidant, you know? But I act anxiously in the way that I could never do short term because I think they'd leave after. And the reality is, with short term, they will leave after. You know, you'll do whatever, and then they'll just disappear. And I think, to be honest with you, sex is one of the most intimate things people can do. You know, and I don't understand how in this society it's been so, that isn't said enough. You know, like, I don't think sex can ever be casual. You know, and I do think if it can be casual for you, that is a very good indicator that there is something wrong. Because inherently speaking, this is my scientific things on it, sex releases oxytocin. Oxytocin is a bonding hormone, So after you do whatever you do, oxytocin is released and you get attached to each other because of that. And the more you have sexual intercourse with someone, the more attached to someone you get. So that is the reason why the whole fuck buddies and the whole friends with benefits and the whole situationships, they never fucking work out. Because one side is probably traumatized and is probably running away from intimacy and relationships. Or maybe they're just not mature enough for that stuff. So they're like, yeah, let's be fuck buddies, right? And the other was like, okay, do you know, I like this person, but do you know what, we can try this. Oh my God, you know, we'll see where this goes. And then slowly but surely, that one party gets attached to the other. And then the whole thing gets fucking ruined. And that's why short-term never works out. You know? And what I will say is, I think short-term pleasure, it really just benefits men. You know, it really just benefits men, to be honest with you. And I think this is a controversial take and I might get murdered for it in the comments. I think society has manipulated women into thinking it also does benefit them. But the reality is, with short term, you know, women, you know, we are the ones who face the blunt of pregnancy. Face the consequences of pregnancy. You know, that is a big one. So obviously birth control does exist, and that can be like birth control, you know, the pill is like 99% effective if you take it right. IUDs, 99% effective, depending on the type, it might be like 99.2% effective. Condoms, depends on uses, it's 98% effective. You know, but the thing is, right, so well, obviously you do have the risk of pregnancy anyway, right? But then let's say, oh my God, you're on birth control, right? Now you have to face all the hormonal consequences, right? And then you have to deal with the psychological consequences and the physical consequences. And then you have to also deal with the social shame. Because even in society, even though it's very normalized for women nowadays to partake in casual, we are also highly, highly scrutinized when we do. You know? It's the type of thing where it's like, it is really fucking promoted and, oh, men need all these hoes, body count this, body count that, and all this stuff. And it's weird if you nearly say a low number now. But then women, they are completely and utterly judged if they have a high body count. But then a lot of young fellas and young men, they don't want to commit to a relationship either. But they want to go around slinging dick. So I don't really know how that works. And it's, you know, and obviously, honestly, I don't think casual benefits men either. It benefits them more, but it's the type of thing where it's like, casual is the type of thing that, like, it fucks with you in the long term, you know. And then I'm just going to say objectification. You know, that's a big one for me. Like, I wouldn't like to do anything with someone to just realize I was just an object to them. I meant nothing to them. Casual is just something I don't agree with, just because of how I'm made. You know, because inherently speaking, in my soul, I'm such a loving person, and I do really love people. I really do open up to people. The people I love mean a lot to me, you know. So I couldn't, because of my predicament, I'd be the type of person I'd fall in love. Like, I'm falling in love straight away. You know, I fall fast, and I fall really fucking hard when it's the right person. Let me explain. It's gonna take a lot of time for someone to convince me to be like, yeah, Nisha, yeah, I'm worth dating, trust me. Yeah, okay, yeah, we're just definitely friends right now, and I definitely haven't been like fucking, you know, desperately fucking yearning for you for like years now, but then I'll be like, oh yeah, okay. And then I'm like, oh yeah, let's get married. It's been 2 weeks. Yeah, we've only been in a relationship for 2 weeks, but yeah, let's get married. Yeah, actually, the whole marriage thing, no. Marriage, that is a construct I do not believe in. I think it's for tax benefits. And I'm not religious, so why would I want to bring a religious ceremony into my life? But my aunt, not the one I live with, but another aunt of mine, she actually said this to me. She was like, Nisha, my relationship, with, is good the way it is. Why do we need to change it? And also I just don't want the government. I don't like the idea of being tied to someone, because I'm like, when I love someone, I'm already tied enough to them. There's no need for the fucking entanglement, Yeah. But I also would like to say I feel like I'm mostly talking about women from this perspective, because obviously I am female, I don't have a dick, so I don't necessarily in-depthly know, I don't really know the effects of casual on them, because I've seen the effects of casual on women, because I've seen the, how they talk, like how, like some of my female friends talk about it and how they regret it and stuff like that. But I would never judge someone for partaking in it either. It's kind of like I'd never judge a drug user. Someone explained to me how the person on this that runs this channel, aka myself, likes talking about being avoidant to my core, yet I waited on call with someone for around 12 plus hours. Yeah. Do you know how fucking insane that is? Oh, how about having whole conversations with someone by myself, with someone who was meant to be my friend, who I definitely wasn't madly in love with? Yeah. Thank fucking God nothing happened with that prick, but Jesus Christ. Thank fucking God. But see, I'm like a fucking Uno reverse card, because I'll be like, oh, I'll act very anxiously 1 minute if I do like someone, and then I'm like, and then my avoidant tendency kicks in. I'm like, oh, this person doesn't give a shit about me, let me block them and everything. And then they go asking my mutual friends, why did Nisha block me? Oh my God, Nisha blocked me because I kissed this girl at the pub. And then my mutual friend has to be like, that isn't why. She doesn't give a fuck what you get up to in your free time, buddy. Jealousy. This is a feeling I never feel. I don't know why. I don't know how. Like, if someone has something I want, like let's say someone has a really cool motorbike, I don't necessarily feel jealous, because I know that person worked towards it. And if they, hyper speaking, got it bought for them, I don't necessarily respect that. But everyone else gets different decks in life, everyone else gets dealt different cards. And I'm also the type of person where it's like, I want to have credit for every single thing I've achieved in my life / own. So having to work for my own stuff is okay with me. And to add to that, romantically speaking, I don't feel jealous, because if someone can take my man, they can have him. And a big fear of mine in the whole romance thing is big fear. Liking being in a relationship with someone who's hung up on someone else. Obviously cheating is something I don't want to happen. And I probably, to be honest, if I do get cheated on, I'm probably going to have a fucking murder charge on my name. And don't take that as a confession of any sort, but yeah, I probably will have a murder charge. But loving someone, having them being hung up on an ex, that's my biggest fear. Because I want to love someone deeply with all my fucking soul. And how am I meant to do that when every time I'm with them, they're thinking of someone else? you know. Either way, I'm gonna leave this here. Bye bye. Miss Spaghetti's leaving.